We just had a new update and it has completely changed competitive. We now have the two biggest teams in the world, Veno and Peterbot, switching drop spots, and they're both going the same drop. Why are they doing this, and is it actually worth it? I also want to talk about why Mr. Savage and Clix's team have also both just switched their drop spot to the same drop spot. Do I think this new drop is going to be good? Do I think it'll be better for them than their old drops? And I want to talk about the bug that is currently leading to the water sprite dropping in stacks of 10 and how this could completely kill competitive this season. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. There was a surprising amount that changed for competitive in this update, but let's kick off with the map changes and why we now have the two biggest and best teams in the world, Veno and Peterbot, switching from what we thought were the two best drop spots to both go flooded frogs. So we had Peterbot's team going brutal boxcars, they got the mythic, they got center map, they got max mats, max loot. It was a phenomenal drop and they've now swapped. On the other hand, we had Veno's team that was going magic mosses where they had guaranteed shrines, max material, max loot, just a crazy drop spot. They're both going flooded, and it's because of this one building, or at least it kind of is. So if you guys don't know, there is now a secret vault inside Flooded Frogs that you can get to with a void Oni mask, teleport through the wall, and it has a whole bunch of loot. It has a bunch of elemental chests, bunch of rare chests. It's just really, really good loot. On top of the rest of the loot Flooded Frogs already had, it is now pretty much tipped it over the edge as the best drop spot on the map, or at least people are arguing it is. This isn't like a situation like we had with the scan coin with Raft or the Grim Gate where we had the dash medallion. I don't think there is just one drop that is by far the best drop on the map right now, but we have one drop that now has the two best teams. And I think there's a lot more to this. And I think one of the main reasons is Razaru. If you guys don't know, both Veno and Peterbot's team work with Raz. He is a coach. I think having both of your top tier teams on both separate regions going the same drop spot just maximizes your preparation. Any preparation you do for one team, any strategy that you find that works for one team will work for the other. And all of these players all stay in the same calls. That's why if you ever watch Peterbot's stream or Veno's stream, you'll often hear these guys in each other's calls. You'll be watching Vico play a solo Cash Cup, and all of a sudden Peterbot's coming for him. That's the reason why. A lot of these guys hang out together, they talk together, and I feel like this is really going to help their preparation. This has got a lot of people really excited for what this means for LAN. If both these teams qualify LAN and they keep going the same drop spots, what's going to happen at LAN? I think when we get closer to LAN, you know, chapter 6, season 4, man, that sounds crazy to say. I don't think either of these teams, if they're still even true at that point, will go the same drop spot leading into that. I don't think either of them would want to contest each other, at least if we have a map like this where there's just no one best drop spot. I think Brutal Boxcars is still a phenomenal drop. I think Magic Moss is still a good drop, at least as far as I can see. I think all of these drops are as good as each other, but the second reason why I think both these teams are trying to go here is playstyle. Both these teams love to play super aggressive in the early and mid game. They like to win fights. They like to get a lot of elims, and both these drops work better for that. Magic Mosses wasn't too bad. It was in a decent spot of the map to take fights on the teams around you, especially to the north, and you got nice quick loot. But at Flooded Frogs, you get the loot even quicker. Peterbot's team dropping Brutal Boxcars, yes, they got the Mythic Assault Rifle, but the playstyle was a bit awkward compared to what a lot of their playstyle likes to be. They'd set up on the mounds, they get their long range surge tags, Pete would have to spend forever trying to get the gun off the train and then rotate back, and it was a very, very slow developing early game. And then as the seasons progressed, Peterbot's team has started to push more aggressively towards the north like Magic Mosses and fort teams for their loot. Now, if they're dropping at Flooded Frogs, they can instantly get all of their loot way quicker, roam around the map, and just start dropping absolute bombs on people. So if you're wondering why both these teams are going here, do I think it's the best drop on the map? Potentially, but do I think it's the best drop on the map for Veno and Peterbot? Definitely. The other major drop spot change we have is Shattered Span. We now have the bridge being broken by Godzilla, and it's not because it got broken that it got crazy strong, but you probably noticed two of, if not the biggest names in the world, are now dropping there. We have Clix, Rise, and Muzz on NA, and we have Mr. Savage, Mongrel, and Panzer on EU. Yes, Mongrel and Savage have finally left the bird. I'm as happy as you guys are, but why have both these huge names started dropping Shattered Span? Did they add some secret vault? Has it got a bunch of extra loot? Not really. It's still a good drop like it has been the whole season. I actually took a look at it today for one of the first times. I kind of actually forgot it was a drop spot on the map. It's really solid. You have the slope truck, you have some elemental chests, you have a whole bunch of chests. There's now a truck in the middle in the water that has 4 chests inside it with a guaranteed rare chest. It has max metal. It has a whole bunch of of extra loot around it, so it's not the best drop on the map, but it's very strong. So for Clix' team, they prefer it over Warriors. Warriors is just a drop that has been quite good, but they just haven't had the success from there they want. They're not placing as highly as what they like. There's no metal. They're quite often not walking out with 3 Oni masks, and one of them has to run a blade. It's a good drop, but again, it's not that strong. They think that this drop is going to be better. Now, Mr. Savage, Mongol, and Panzer, they have a much better reason for swapping, and it's not just because they're contested. If you think this means Huddy won the spawn fight, Huddy cleared Savage, he's alphaed it, the bird is now terrible, sadly. Not terrible, but it's got a massive nerf. So all of the gas stations around the map that were themed after the bird style POIs, all of the walls in them gave metal. So you got guaranteed max metal every single time. It's one of the reasons why these drop spots were so strong. Fortnite has come in and changed that now. They only give brick and only the floors and the roofs give metal. So this is a very large nerf to a drop that already really wasn't working that well. So I think it's pushed Savage's team over the edge. They're going to land this new drop spot. Now, how do I think these teams are going to go with this drop spot? It's hard to know. So Mr. Savage, Mongol, and Panzer sadly didn't make finals today for the Eval Cup, so we didn't get to see how they play out in a final setting. Meanwhile, Clix's team did. And so far, the drop looks quite solid. They actually played quite well. They got a 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So they got 4 games inside the top 10 at a brand new drop spot. That has me very, very hopeful, especially because this drop spot is really, really strange with the way it plays out. All of the loot is really, really spread out. They also get a lot of the loot next to Shattered Span as well. So it is a huge amount of loot, but it is very far away from the map. So it massively changes how you have to play your surge routes. Most of these teams, you know, Savage and Clix are used to dropping middle map drops, or at least at the moment they are. Bird's a little bit towards the edge as well, but now they have this really edge map where they can spend the whole game looting if they wanted to, but they have to learn how to have the most efficient loot route to get in, get the loot, and get out, and start looking for their surge so they don't get held by all the teams around them. As far as who's contesting them, Clix right now looks like he has Shattered Span uncontested. Mr. Savage, however, don't worry, it's not Huddy's trio, but it looks like Mixon's trio is currently looking at dropping Shattered Span. That could change. That's just what I've heard right now between my stream and on Twitter, so I'm not sure whether that'll actually happen tomorrow in the Division 1, but we do have Clix and Mr. Savage at new drop spots, and I like this drop spot. I think they're only going to get better from here. There's a lot of room for develop different playstyles out of this drop spot. There's no one way to play it, and I think that's what's going to be really cool. So if you see either of these teams struggling in Div 1, don't panic. It's not because the old drop spot was better. I just think this new drop spot is a lot more complicated, but it does have more potential. The last major map change we had is Kappa Factory, and that sounds like a meme. No, I'm not kidding. There is now a pickle factory on the map. Currently, as far as who is going there, on EU, we have Vanya, Pixie, and Chap. Yes, that is a new trio. I'll talk about all the new trios in a second. And then we have Michael, Waze, and Jakey. Yes, that is the OG Michael, like Chapter 2 competitive Michael. He's returned to the game. He's looking really solid. Both of them are going there on EU right now. As far as NA for who has claimed it, we have Noxie's team now having claimed Kappa Factory. So it looks like a solid drop. I don't know anywhere near as much about this drop as what I do the other two. I haven't looked into it as seriously. I will look into it more and more, but it looks solid. It's got a bunch of loot. It's got a bunch of metal. Teams are currently trying to claim it. You will have a lot of teams around you holding you, especially around Seaport, but overall the drop has potential. It's edge of the map, but it's cool to see some more loot being thrown on the map. I just don't know how I feel about it being called Kappa Factory. All right, let's talk about some new trios. I just touched on one of them then. We now have Chap, Vanya, and Pixie. So Vanya and Pixie decided to drop Marius and instead pick up Chap. As far as how this went for them, they made the finals of the Eval Cup. They got an 11th, 28th, 7th, and 25th. Again, they are being contested at a brand new drop spot, so you have to keep that one in mind. We also now have confirmation of who Mason got replaced by, and it's none other than Virgo. So we have Yomzo, Batman Booger, and Virgo. Marius is now playing alongside Sangild and Lunex, a full Danish trio. Again, in the finals, they were looking very good. Not only did they make the EU finals, they also made the NA finals as well for the Eval Cup. So that trio is looking very, very solid in their first tournaments together this season. And now we have Reet finding his brand new trio. It is Reet, Vert, and Chance. Now, I like this trio again. Vert just won the solo Cash Cup. I was telling you guys about how I think Vert is a super underrated player. It looks like Reet is going to be giving him a chance, and Chance has really, really been on the come up as well. So those are 4 of our major new trios. There are some other people moving around like Skittles and Chimp and stuff like that, but I don't know exactly if they're locked in yet before I want to talk too much about it. Before I break down the entire Eval Cup finals, I do want to talk about one of the craziest new bugs to come out with the new update. There's 2 of them. Firstly, the massive buff to the water sprite, or Bob as I call him. Instead of having 3 uses when you eliminate a player, they now drop a Bob with 10 uses. That is absolutely absurd. That is 4,500 potential total healing across you and your whole trio. If you use 10 uses of the water sprite and you and your whole trio get the full effect, that is 4,500 health. That is one of, if not the strongest med items we've ever had in the game. Now, is this a bug? I have to assume so. I have to imagine so. A lot of people are saying they were trying to make the air sprite have 10 uses, which in my mind is kind of pointless. The reason why the air sprite sucks is because it doesn't matter how many uses it has. It could be infinite. If you throw it down, you can't use it and pick it back up. That's the whole issue. But the fact that it only drops with 10 but doesn't start with 10 makes me think it's a bug. So I talked to Asarian about this. They checked the game files for me. Like most items in Fortnite, they have different values that when an item drops, it comes reloaded or not. So when you eliminate a player, their gun is always reloaded. Or when you eliminate someone with a med miss, it's reloaded. Or when you eliminate them with a void mask, it drops at full uses. That is a normal feature for a lot of weapons. Fortnite has somehow done this where it just randomly turns the water sprite into 10 uses. It's made it through the whole day without being fixed, and it's not on the Trello board. If you guys don't know, the Trello board is where Fortnite publicly posts what they're working on, what are bugs. It's not on there listed as a bug, so I'm not sure how I feel about this. It could be a gigantic issue for surge trading, obviously having that ridiculous amount of heals. Because it has such a long cooldown on it though, you don't really ever get a lot of uses out of it, especially coming into endgame, because the only way to get it is from taking someone down. The best bet you have is someone picks one up off on spawn, you take them down on spawn, and now you have 10 uses for the rest of the game. But more often than not, you find it, you know, through mid-game into end-game, you have 10 uses, but there's only 2 minutes left in the game anyway, and it has a 30-second cooldown. So I hope it doesn't have a huge impact on the game. I think it's a bug, but I'm not super mad about it. But in case you guys see a 10-use water sprite, that is why. The other bug, and don't worry, I have a fix for this, is the F key. If you have any of your builds bound to F, you already know what this bug is. Basically, players who have this can't build using their F key unless they already have their blueprint out, which is an absolute nightmare. But there is a way to fix this. Go into your keybind setting, just unbind everything that is bound to F, and it will work. Now, this is a bit annoying because the default bind for F is actually pick up and carry for downed opponents, for either enemies or your teammates. So a little bit annoying on that one. I'm sure Epic is going to hopefully fix this quickly. It's affecting a lot of pros, such as Peterbot. Peterbot uses F for build, so he had to turn off his carry bind today on stream. He was pretty pissed off about it, understandably. I don't really know how this bugs, but at least there is a way to kind of fix it for now. Speaking of Peterbot, let's recap what happened in the Eval Cup finals today. We almost had a tournament set lobby finals without Peterbot getting a win, but in the very last game, they pulled it off. They got a 1 win of the 4 games at their new drop spot, but their match history was absurd. 15 elim win, 10 elim 8th, 12 elim 2nd, and a 10 elim 4th. At a brand new drop spot they have never yet played before. So if you thought maybe there was a chance that Ritual Cold Peterbot switching this drop could somehow lead to, you know, the end of the Peterbot reign on NA right now, it's not looking like it. It's somehow made them potentially even stronger. We'll have to see how the Div 1 Cup goes this week, but it's looking very good. We also had another brand new trio get a win. Visuals, Ishu, and Minished. I know I say Minished, it's a Minished. Just trust me, it's fine. I get it. Everyone always comments. I know how to say his name. I've been watching it for a long time. I call him Minished as a joke, but Ishu is a new pickup instead of Victor V. I am sad to see Victor V get dropped from this trio. I love Victor V. I think he's a great player. I think he has massive potential, but it's already showing the results. They got a 5th, 1st, 9th, and 3rd. So this might be a new trio to look out for on NA. We also had Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx coming off the back of their 2nd place in the Div 1 Cup finals. Now the Vidil's in NA, performing really well as a trio. I also, if you watch Vidil's stream, you know what I'm talking about. My man is very ill right now. I was watching him. It genuinely made me appreciate not being sick, watching how sick he was while playing. It seems like he has a really bad cold, so seeing him do that well, genuinely really impressive. And to absolutely no one's surprise, we had Rapid, Poyo, and Bolts bringing home another win in the Eval Cup finals, and they also got a 3rd place as well. Moving on over to EU, it looks like Vico, Veno, and Flixie are also having a lot of success at their new drop spot. They played 4 matches, got 1 win, but also had an 8 elim 4th, a 12 elim 3rd, got the 1 elim 15th, but their win was an 18 elim win. So it's fair to say that, as I was talking about earlier in the video, this new Frogs drop spot really suits both these teams. We also had Hriss, Teeny, and Skivvy get their first win as a trio in the Eval Cup. We talked about this recently, how Hriss ended up getting dropped by by Tayson. Ended up coming second now with Teeny and Skivvy. This is a very, very solid new trio on the block. We had iDrop, Sky, and Scroll getting a win. They also got 2 4th places on top of that. So very, very consistent match history. I should mention, sorry, as well, Chris, Teeny, and Skivvy also got a 13 elim second. So really close to getting 2 wins. One of the only teams that would have done that. And we also had Ping, Wox, and Malabuka get an 8 elim win and an 11 elim second. So also 2 wins for Malabuka on top of a 1 elim 6th.